everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are talking with a director. We love talking with directors. And we've had Jonah Feingold on the podcast before. We've got him back. And Jonah, thank you so much for coming to talk with us.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. Always
Yeah.
a joy to be on my favorite podcast and talk about rom-coms and movies, and
Yes.
always great to return to this wonderful show.
Well, I feel like you're somebody worth championing because you're fighting the fight
Yeah.
of the rom-com.
Yeah.
You're actually trying to make it happen, and I appreciate it.
I think our hard work of bringing the romantic comedy back in a serious way is paying off, though. I mean, people are, look at all these announcements, whether it's the people you meet on vacation from director Brett Haley, who's a good friend of mine now, all the way to Monica Barbaro, alumni of the Romantical family, who's now going to star in that Will Gluck movie, which is his follow-up to that film, Anyone But You. I think
I hadn't heard about that one.
Just announced last week. Yeah, it's Monica and it's Callum Turner. And
because I wanted to talk to you about this because I was so discouraged this year about the whole Bridget Jones. I like, how did they send that straight to streaming? It made no sense. I felt like, is this a death nail in the genre? Because here you've got a franchise that has proven track record. It's always done well at the box office, and they had nothing else in February. It's not like it had some other thing to send it straight to streaming was so discouraging to me. And I just thought, I worry that Hollywood is just, they have completely transitioned, that it's like they see, it's like they're just, they've got that the response now is like, oh, romantic comedy, it's streaming.
It's super quick. The response is to, well, by the way, to your point though, super tragic. Did it ever do a theatrical run? Was it just brief? No,
none. Zero. It just went right to Paramount Plus. And the crazy thing, so it was released overseas,
right?
And it still made $140 million overseas.
What?
And $140 million. I mean, there is no world where that movie, especially with how good it actually was, it was really good, where that movie doesn't make over 200, make the money that Anyone But You made. It's just, there was no other competition over Valentine's.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that $140 million stat, and it's super suspicious. And you got to wonder if there's some, for all we know, if it was Paramount Plus, for all we know, there was some larger Paramount Skydance issue with distribution and the royalties. I mean, that's what happened to At Midnight, which ultimately is going to find a new home. But
I just worry about that it's like the Pavlov dog's response now. It's like, gotta send it to streaming. Like I just don't see where there's any world that that Anne Hathaway movie last year wouldn't have made $200 million.
Was it called Just Like Us or Forgive?
The one
she dates the younger guy. She dates Nicholas Galvin.
Based on a popular novel.
Great movie.
It had the Red, White, and Royal Blue. Nicholas Galzantine. He's hot. No, just go straight to Amazon. And it was just like, oh.
It's suspicious and it's strange. And I think what's also interesting is that the successful rom-coms in theaters are ones that have been that get a chance. They stay in theaters for a long time. Anyone But You was an example of a film that they kept in theaters for many weeks, and that the head of the studio took a risk there. Look at even It Happened One Night, the first rom-com ever, one of the biggest box office successes of all time, had a massive run in theaters.
Big Fat Greek Wedding, that was in theaters forever and was allowed to kind of percolate and grow, and that's so true. And I just worry that we rarely allow movies to really marinate anymore in the theaters. I mean, that was something actually, like the whole Lilo and Stitch thing. It's not a romantic comedy, but it was interesting on a lot of levels. That's going to be the big moneymaker this year. But it was also allowed to be, and they could have sent that to Disney Plus way sooner. And it was originally planned to be for Disney Plus.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean,
it was originally, and they technically will have, assuming this Freakier Friday does okay, which is, I thought it would do better, but still, they will have had 3 movies that they were originally going to send straight to streaming that have been hits, in this just in the last year because they had Moana 2 that was originally going to be
Sure.
streaming,
Sure.
and then Lilo and Stitch, and and then it's this Freakier Friday. That's crazy. Me think like $2 billion they could
I
have lost.
it's wild. And but going back to your point also, maybe you're very clearly you're bolding the point of what might be tough for the rom-coms in that they are movies that have traditionally succeeded when they've been given multiple weeks in the box office. And to your point, very few movies, period, regardless of genre, get that time in the box office. And as a result, the ones that especially are harder to get that need that aren't succeeding, which is
Yeah.
maybe one of the reasons why we don't see theatrical
You could
rom-coms.
even, I mean, on the Disney train, you could even use Elemental as an example. Like, and
Sure.
that was a romance.
Sure.
And it, opened light and then
Yeah.
was allowed to kind of percolate and
Yeah.
grow, and it ended up making a profit.
Yeah, if it works, it works. That's the thing. And
Yeah.
if you keep your margins relatively low, if you don't make it a blowout $200 million movie, although Lilo and Stitch, I think probably was expensive to make, but ultimately worked out for them, which is
Yeah.
cool. I like
I
Lilo and Stitch. I like that movie.
it was cute. I was a little frustrated because I was like, I was hoping that Dean Fleischer Camp, the director, would be able to do something a little more creative with the property. It was like pretty shot for shotty, but it was, they got a really cute girl, and
And
Lila was
Stitch was
cute, and
cool. You get to see Stitch
yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah,
like this, and and then they got Chris Sanders, who, I mean, he's the original
yeah.
voice. I
I
think,
love I love his Marcel the Shell with shoes on, and if you ever saw that.
oh, it's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah. But here's the thing,
so
Dean, you know he's a talented filmmaker, and you obviously we all as an audience, I'm like, oh, you know what? You tried what you could, and you
yeah,
had Disney there, and you are just along for the ride, and you got to be. It's not, it's a very fun
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
I was really discouraged about Bridget Jones, and I
yeah,
was really bummed out about The Materialist. Did you
yeah.
have a chance to see that yet?
I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I know that's not off brand for me, but maybe that's even more an indicative. Like, I don't think it's a movie I'm necessarily excited to see. But what do you think of it?
I think that you'll appreciate it just as a filmmaker.
Sure,
It is beautifully made, and uh but it was very disappointing because they were definitely selling it as a rom-com
sure.
in the marketing, advertising, even interviews with Celine,
Yeah.
and then watch it and it was cynical, and it was
Ooh,
cold, and it
ooh.
was I was just, it just, I can see how people might appreciate it as like a drama, but as a comedy or and a romance, I thought it was very weak. And the way they used, there's actually a sexual assault plot line, a subplot that they used to provide motivation for our character, which I thought was really cheap, and I really disliked that. So I didn't like it. I thought it was very disappointing. But it was just kind of like, wow, this is just such a frustrating year when it comes to rom-coms. And I'm just feeling so sad about the genre. It's like if it wasn't for Hallmark, I feel like that's all that we have to lean on as far as the fans of the genre these days.
Right. Would you say that perhaps some of the reason you felt this way about Materialist is because you felt lied to in the
Yeah.
marketing? So there's a little bit of betrayal. Like if you had
Yeah.
been marketed a different film, would you have perhaps liked it more?
Yes. If I was going in there preparing for a drama that was going to
Yeah.
be about like a drama about New York singleites and their,
Sure.
that, then I probably would have liked it better, but I still don't think it would have been my jam. But I wouldn't have been like excited for it. And I just feel like I feel like we, as a single person, like we've seen that, like look how superficial and how
Yeah.
that everybody is, and how superficial everybody is in dating, and I'm just like, ugh, it's depressing, it's frustrating. I
I
like to
think
have
that
a little bit of optimism out there.
you and I really, I think, are the films we respond to. I think we have very similar tastes in that there's
Yeah,
like optimism and wish fulfillment and hope. And I think we're all like it's gonna happen, like it's happening.
yeah.
But you're right. There's a shortage. I don't know why, but
The other thing too is, I feel like, is if you're going to do that kind of cynical New Yorker storyline,
yeah.
I think that the characters needed to be younger, because like I kept thinking of
Oh, sure.
Whit Stillman's Metropolitan, and
Love that movie.
yeah,
Love that movie.
amazing.
Yeah.
And those are very cynical New Yorkers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're young, and so it makes sense, and it's funny because
Yeah.
they're so confident and they're so ridiculous
Yeah.
in their confidence. And I felt like she was trying to mine that. There was obviously also
Hmm.
very influenced by Manhattan, but
Really?
Manhattan,
Oh wait,
yes,
Metropolitan
Woody Allen,
or the movie that the Materialist, you said.
Materialist,
Oh,
very,
interesting.
yeah,
How so?
Materialist,
How's-
very much so. Just the way that the I don't know, just the way that it was kind of commenting on singles in New
Sure.
York,
Sure.
and but it wasn't funny, whereas Manhattan, Woody Allen, in his prime, was funny. Like
Manhattan's hilarious. Yeah.
I love that whole scene in Manhattan where he's talking to the pedantics about things being overrated.
Yeah. Wait. Which scene is it? Hold on. Which scene?
So they're all talking among themselves, and they're like, oh, that I think it was, I can't remember if it's Godard or somebody, oh, he's so overrated,
Oh,
and
in
he's
the
like,
museum. In the
yeah, and
museum?
he's like, how
Yes.
can you say that's overrated?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such a funny scene.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing that was like that in Materialist, but I felt like it was trying to kind of mine that, trying to be that tradition. And it was like, if
Yeah.
you're going to go there, if you're going to have that kind of cynical outlook, then you need to be funnier, to pull it
Yeah.
off, in my opinion. And yeah. So anyway, you'll have to let me know when you see it. I'll be very curious what
I'll
you
definitely
think.
keep you posted. And by the way,
Yes.
just going back to the Manhattan thing, you're touching on something that I think about on a daily basis, which is to say that, the romantic comedy genre hasn't really had a breakout cultural snapping like it used to. I mean, I was
Yeah.
talking to somebody recently who was pretty young, but like, I think 20s or 30s when Annie Hall came out. And when Annie
Yeah.
Hall came out, apparently everyone in New York was talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love that movie because I think it's cool storytelling, it's nonlinear, there's good chemistry, it's funny, it's inventive. But like, I don't know if I understood why it ignited a whole time. And apparently, when it came out, it was one of the first times you really saw a couple talking about sex and multiple partners. I mean, this
Yeah.
character has multiple lovers um and like that was the first time you saw that in a modern way. And I was like, oh, I forget that the genre itself, our genre that we love, the films used to push the boundaries of what
Yeah.
was Casablanca, made during the war. We
Yeah.
forget that. And like Lady Eve, all these other sort of like code era movies where like you can't talk about sex, but you can show it in really fun blocking ways. And The Apartment by Billy Wilder, originally some critics loved it, some critics panned it because it was about infidelity and how inappropriate that was. But I look at that movie as the greatest romantic comedy possibly ever made.
Mm.
And I think we forget that the genre, to have these sort of staple films, needs to ask, they need to ask, they need to draw out the subconscious in a
Yeah.
way that's like, what are we all thinking, but maybe are too afraid to see or too afraid to say or do. Even in a movie like in Manhattan, he's dating a younger woman. He doesn't know what to do. And then the ending of that movie is beautiful. It's you want what you can't have until you get it. And then, or you want what you can't have, and then you can't have it anymore and you want it, and that's kind of,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
about this all the
The
time. Yeah.
closest that I can think, I mean, yeah, you're right. There hasn't been a game changer in a long time.
Right.
Gosh, you'd have to go back to something like 500 Days of Summer, and that's
Right.
still a ways ago that was.
And that one, to your point, agreed, obviously derivative of Annie Hall, and it's like nonlinear storytelling and everything
Mhm.
like that. But that movie, you're right, it was this sort of first time you ever saw one side of the story and they're just friends, but like, and now, by the way, I love people look back at that movie now and they say, oh my God, he's such a stalker. He won't leave that girl alone. I think it's funny
Yeah.
how that movie has aged. I love that film, but like, it's just funny.
Yeah, no, I love it too. And I don't agree with people I know he even said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt said it, but I don't agree because she knew who he was and still invited him to that party. I mean,
Yeah.
it was her fault too, not just
Oh, for sure. I agree with you. I think people like looking at like a clip or two from TikTok and saying that that's what that movie's about. And it's just like you and I both know that that movie is actually she was into him. Like, what are
Yeah.
we talking about? Like that's,
Yeah.
but
Well, and she knew how that would make him feel,
yeah,
and him inviting him to that party.
yeah,
And so I don't agree. I don't agree with that philosophy. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, it feels like the last studio romantic comedy that, I mean, I guess if you count something like Lost City or A Ticket to Paradise, we've had a few, Anyone But You. We've had a
yeah,
few, but the last one that really felt like any kind was making a real impression
yeah,
that didn't go straight to streaming would
yeah.
be Crazy Rich Asians, which
Right. There you go. That's a perfect example. That's a movie but look at that one. That movie looked at wealth and culture. And I
but
mean, it's
even then that was seen as like, this is really crazy. We haven't had one of these in a long time.
right.
Even then.
And comedy. That was movie more. I feel like the movie was more of a
Yeah.
comedy than it was a rom-com. I couldn't tell you the story of those two people. I could tell you I laughed during the movie, but I don't know if I like. Yeah, I don't know. I think to your point, like I'm thinking of like something's got to give. Like that movie to me, you're seeing two people of
Yeah.
a certain age fall in love, and um, I'm trying to think what
There's
meant.
been some for streaming, like To All the Boys I've Loved Before,
Sure,
that went straight to Netflix. There was Red, White, and Royal Blue,
big
which
hit for
was
them. Yeah,
so good.
yeah,
And I do believe the Red, White, and Royal Blue would have been a hit. I
yeah,
just do. It was
yeah.
so well done, and they had such incredible chemistry. But
Is there a
just went.
sequel they're making to that?
Yeah, they're coming in
That's
a
exciting.
sequel,
That's
which makes
exciting.
me very nervous because sequels are usually terrible in
Right,
rom-coms
right.
because they don't know what to do next.
Yeah, what do you do? Who
Like
you got to go
even
with
with
somebody else?
Red,
Yeah.
White, and Royal Blue, like I guess you plan their wedding. Like what are they gonna do? Are they gonna have them break
Interesting.
up?
Yeah,
That'll
yeah,
suck,
yeah.
you know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
Bad. And most of them I see it all the time with Hallmark because there's if they have one that people love,
Yeah,
oh, we want a sequel. I'm like, no,
yeah,
no,
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 just make it new. Make it new.
because they're almost always terrible,
Yeah.
terrible.
Huh.
What's better, and I wish that they could take this away from romance novels. What
Yeah.
romance novels do is that they will take a side character from the
Yeah.
novel, and then the next book will be about, like, it'll be like you'll have the baseball team series, right? And so each one will be about a different member of that team
I love
or
that. That's
or a
why they do
town.
Lion King 1.5. They take Timon
Yeah,
and Pumbaa's
yeah,
story.
yeah,
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, or whatever the
yeah.
original
It'd
purpose
be
of that was.
like
Yeah.
the Fool's Gold series, and there'll be all these from these town, and so you get like one or two scenes with the previous couple, but
Yeah.
the rest will be. I wish that they did more of that in the world of romance.
Yeah. I mean, but to your point, it is tough. It is tough to
It's
do
really
that once
hard.
you sort of spend time with a couple.
But you mentioned At Midnight. I wanted to ask you, but so what's going on?
So what's going on is exclusive to us right now. We are in the process of selling the film. So with the producers and I were like, hey, Monica's in this new movie. She was nominated for an Oscar. Diego has a great new Amazon show coming out. This movie has a lot of fans. What are we doing here? And obviously there was a complication with Paramount and Skydance, of which I am one of many films, and ultimately I will never know what really goes on behind the scenes. But the good news is Paramount said, internationally, they have people who are, I believe, finalizing paperwork, and domestically, we've gotten into some conversations with people, and so the movie will find a new home, and
That's good.
yeah, people will be able to watch it and enjoy it. But you know,
Because
interesting, right?
it's not only, oh, I don't get to see it on the big screen. These movies that are going straight to streaming, they could be lost forever. Like
It's TV shows too,
it's
by
a
the way.
problem. Yeah,
TV
you're
shows
right.
just crazy,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and you're like, especially when they invest you in characters for so long. But no, it's really tragic. It's really I don't know. It's really odd. Never a problem I foresaw as a
No.
younger
When
person.
when they first announced streaming, I was so naive, and I was hopeful that I thought, oh, this is going to be a way to celebrate smaller films because they won't have that physical release
Mm,
price, to worry about, that cost to worry about. So I was like, oh, they could just release tons of cool stuff, and you could get a following for movies that had gotten forgotten or lost, and there's been a tiny bit of that. Every once in a while there'll be some random movie that will for some reason be
yeah,
popular. Um, but not very much. For the most part, it's a way of just releasing movies and then forgetting
yeah.
about them even more than we used to, which is
It's
such a
it's
bummer.
it's a bummer. I agree with you though. I think there's tons of opportunity. Personally, obviously in my career, I've had opportunity that I would never have if it weren't for streaming. With a movie like At
Uh-huh.
Midnight, with a movie like Xmas, and you know, I like that it when it makes sense for the film, it's awesome. It can reach so many households and so many people in different countries, and that can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I just wish they were a little bit more upfront with the plan and the strategy, and I wish there
Huh.
was laws in place that said, hey, you can't just take the movie off, whenever you want. That's
Or
not, yeah.
yeah, or at least like made it available to purchase.
Right. Make it so and you can download it and you can have it in your
Yeah.
computer. So strange, yeah, but
Yeah, it's so
yeah,
strange. Well, keep us posted.
I will. I
Yeah.
will. Absolutely.
I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Hers. Weight loss medications are everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about them, everyone's on them. But let's be real. Have you seen the price tag? It's hard to believe they're actually accessible. That's where Hers comes in. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If prescribed, you get medication as part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage, and medication adjustments, and 24/7 online support at no additional cost, no hidden fees, and no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive, and affordable. Hers provides access to both oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options, with oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid upfront. Plus, your personalized treatment ships for free directly to your door. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time for you to find the best option that works for you through Hers. Start your free online visit today at forhers.com/hallmarkies. That's forhers.com/hallmarkies. forher.com/hallmarkies. Well, why don't you tell everybody about this Good to See You project, what
Yes.
you've just released,
Yes.
and it's on your YouTube channel. Is that correct?
It's on my YouTube channel, which is, I would just point out my notes here. It's just the Jonah Feingold, the THE, because I guess there was somebody else that named Jonah,
Yeah.
on the YouTube page. And yeah, it's a project called Good to See You. It's a filmette, Filmette. It's a word I'm coining for like
Okay.
45-minute to 50-minute
Yeah.
movies.
Featurette.
Featurette, exactly.
Yeah.
And the idea was to basically just go out there and make something with a talented actress that I had been introduced to named Tess Trangelis.
Uh-huh.
And she is really talented, funny comedian. And we were just talking about our favorite rom-coms. And, you and I, Rachel, obviously we've spoken about our favorite films at length. And I just truly felt like I was like, okay, I have this thing inside of me that I want to say, which is I want to go make something that feels like it's in the 80s or 90s. And I want it to be about two people that are sort of adjacent to the corporate world. And every time it turns into summer in New York, I'm walking through Central Park and I say to myself, I have to go make a movie. And finally, I was just like, what if I just went out there and made this, And so
Yeah.
We just started filming the film, and we shot it over the course of 6 days between the hours of 5 and 7 p.m. We went full Terrence Malick, which basically means we shot during the golden hour, which is something he loves
Uh-huh.
doing. For
Yeah.
us, it was out of necessity because Tess works a full-time job, and because the high sun, noon, one, it's too hot and it's too bright. It's way too bright everything looks bad. And because we had no lights and no crew, this is a self-shot movie. I would use a tripod and my camera, and we put it down and we block around there. Because of that, we need to shoot at a more beautiful time of day. So it was either 8 a.m. or 5 p.m. And so that's sort of where we chose 5, and it's been incredibly fulfilling. We released the film via a series of clips on the internet that showed
Okay.
30 to 60-second clips of the movie up into the film's release. So people sort of anticipated
Smart.
what was happening, but they didn't know how it ended, and they didn't know some of the key factors. And then we released the movie about 2 weeks ago, and now people have been able to enjoy the whole movie. And I still release some clips that people haven't seen yet, but for the most part, those people have, people are finding the movie now organically, which is great. And we've been enjoying. We did 2 sold-out screenings in
Yeah.
New York. We've just been enjoying the process.
That's so cool. So how much of it did you have scripted versus improv?
I would say it was 80-20 scripted, 20% improv. I think that the term improv is like, it wasn't like what we did on, Xmas, where I have Michael Hitchcock, who played the dad in
Yeah.
Xmas, who's from the Best in Show, Christopher Guest movies, who
Yeah.
seriously comes in
Hilarious.
hilarious. He's the funniest
Yeah.
person in the world. He comes in and you just roll 2 cameras on him and you let him riff for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was never that, because on this
Right.
movie, one, I didn't have the bandwidth to go through 30 minutes for one take of editing. But it was improv in the sense that we would get to show up to the location and we would just riff off camera. As I was setting up the camera and putting our mics on, I'd say, let's just run the scene. And you'd say the rhythm of the words, and then sometimes we'd say, oh, let's change that word and let's change this thing and let's come up with this. And so it was more like, it felt like it was very make-believe. I would say it was more make-believe and made up than it was improv. There was definitely moments in the scene where we improv, but for the most part, I'm a blocking nut. I love the way actors move in screen. I love the way Howard Hawks did it in Bringing Up Baby. I love the way, Billy Wilder did it in anything from Some Like It Hot to The Apartment. And I love the way that, obviously, Annie Hall, the way they move in that movie. And so I am pretty addicted to that. And you can't really improv too much when you're doing that kind of stuff, because you got to hit certain marks for certain lines. So 80-20, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I liked some of the choices you made, like particularly that one scene where you were, I think there was a fountain, and then you had the people walking in front of you, but you could hear yourselves, the 2 of you talking.
Yes.
And I thought that was a very way to capture the energy of the park.
Yeah, I love the explore auditory directing. It's a whole new muscle where it's kind of like when you're overheard. I mean, if you walk through Central Park, you walk anywhere through a park, you're overhearing different conversations. You don't necessarily know where those words are coming from. Sometimes, someone's talking about something and you overhear it and you look that way, but that wasn't them, it was somebody else. And I kind of wanted to channel that. And then we used really deep focus, which is a term I keep talking about because I'm really excited by it. But Citizen Kane did it, not to mention Citizen Kane on our podcast, which I have to, of course, now. But the concept of multiple planes being in focus. And the beautiful thing is that what was the movie that did it? 80s and 90s, right? So all the Albert Brooks films, Modern Romance might be the one I'm thinking of, but they all use deep focus. Basically, a lot of what you see in the frame. So when you're in New York, when you're in Central Park, I want you to see everything that's going on. I don't want to take it on so it's super shallow depth of field, except for the end of the movie, wherein it's that rainstorm, and that's the first time they're sort of in their own world together. And so that's the first time we introduce really shallow depth of field.
Yeah. Well, that whole rainstorm, that wasn't planned, right?
No, that wasn't planned.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the joke that Tess and I had was every time we filmed, it started to drizzle or rain. But of course, one of the final days of filming, we had this just torrential downpour that was like flash flood. And we said, you know what? We got to go do the ending. And so we just sort of audible. We picked up the gear. We ran over to, the street. And we were like, let's just roll this and see what happens. And ultimately, my favorite scene in the movie, possibly.
I'm amazed that you were able to get, using just the wireless mics, the lab mic, that you were able to get it to sound as good as you did.
Thank you. We used, shout out Rode Wireless Go 2s. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a big learning curve. I learned a lot about how like I guess it's so obvious in retrospect, but like these microphones use radio frequencies, and so if you block if you block them literally, they get less strong. So I found that every time I was in sight of these mics, it was
Uh-huh.
better. And they were good. It was good. I mean, it wasn't, I think I will improve on the second movie, my audio work. I'm gonna probably
Yeah.
look into learning some. I mean, I'm kind of doing it all. So I'm looking at this tool called Isotope, which is a tool that big movies use to sort of help clean up dialogue. And I learned all about low pass filter, and
That's
it
so cool.
yeah, it just helps to control. It helps to control the artistic vision of understand the dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess the only feedback on that level I would give is I did think the music sometimes was a little loud.
It's a good note.
It could
There
be
was definitely I went a little Chris Nolan on some of those moments where all you could hear was score. And you know what's strange though and difficult is that on my headphones that I used to mix them, it sounded fine. And for some reason, there's certain frequencies that when you upload to YouTube, the compression changes things. And so it's hard to
Mm,
know, it's the same way I mix in, you color correct a movie on a screen, you'd audio mix it, and once you put it on YouTube or put it anywhere else, it's going to be reinterpreted by that
that's
screen
true.
and those speakers. And I don't disagree with you. At the screening last night, there was one scene where the music was way too loud. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to say I'm Chris Nolan here. Cause like I didn't mean to do that. But when I mixed it originally, it did not sound like that.
Yeah,
So but I hear you on that front,
yeah.
literally, no pun intended.
You know who you ought to connect with is there is a director named Jonathan Smith. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Okay.
him. Okay, Jonathan Smith,
It's
he does these micro indies. And
ooh,
like literally this last one he made was called, it's called Guy Friends. And he did it with his like sister-in-law and his
oh,
friends. And
yeah,
he shot it also this was also in Central Park. And he makes these movies for nothing. And
wow.
they're they're really good. They're very
Yeah,
creative and fun. Um and I just love that spirit. I mean, when I'm sitting down as a film critic, when I'm sitting down to watch a micro indie like this,
yeah,
like you have to judge something for what it's trying to be. But really
yeah,
for his movies and for this, I didn't have to have my patient pants on. Like it's not like I was sitting there thinking, okay, I'm watching a student film. Like
yeah.
it that they're entertaining. Like
I
they
I appreciate you saying that.
you
Yeah.
can forgive a lot because of the circumstances, but in the end of the day, it still has to be a good movie.
I think you're honing in. I just wrote down Jonathan Smith. So I'm
Yeah,
going to check out his work. But
he's
the
great.
what you're describing is something that I felt looking back in the film that I feel strongly about. Yes, there's audio imperfections and there's some camera stuff, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's all about how you feel about something. Like, and if it makes you feel something, like even a demo track of a song that's not perfectly mastered, if it makes you feel a way, then that's your memory of it. You
yeah,
remember how you felt. This is what I feel about the importance of theatrical as well. You remember how you felt when you saw the first Bridget Jones movie in theaters. You know, you remember how you felt when you maybe watched this film, but it's like you're not gonna get hung up on the small details. And I feel like that was like the fun, rewarding exercise. It was like, oh, even though it's not perfect physically, there is a way emotionally to make it feel very,
yeah.
in tune.
And I like on your letterboxd, which you all should follow if you're listening. You should follow Jonah's letterbox. You said, I hope this inspires folks to go make their art, which I
Yeah.
think is so important because we've never had it more accessible to be able to make art, to make film than
Yes.
it is now. So that's the exciting part. Uh, and so I think it is inspiring.
That's another element too. It's like we wanted to be, we wanted the film to feel accessible, to feel like the kind of thing where like you could watch it, and if you're a filmmaker, you could be like, wait, I want to go do that. I can go
Yeah.
do that. And sometimes if it's too glossy, if it's too perfect, then maybe that doesn't exist and you're like hung up on it. But um, I don't know. I think the film represents just very much like the characters, two people trying to do something, and
Yeah.
that's maybe some of the metaphysical magic of the piece.
Yeah. So I really liked the whole scene in the zoo with the
Oh, with
penguins.
penguins. Yeah.
It says that, and I was wondering if that one was improv, that scene.
That scene was not with my little spiel about the pebbles, because I had seen so many TikToks about that, and I actually truly was obsessed with penguins growing up. I say was, I probably still am. I used to know all about the penguins, emperor penguins, king penguins, chinchilla penguins. I used to
Yeah.
march the penguins, changed my life, and I used to walk around like I was a penguin. I mean, these are all like
Yeah.
embarrassing things, but um I'd say that one was pretty improv in the sense that we showed up to the location. I did not think we'd get our camera in there. I thought they'd for sure kick us out. And then we got that shot up, and I was like, okay, Tess, let's run with it. We just ran into Taylor. He was your ex. You're still hung up on him. You still want to see him. You want the potential. And I'm going to be a listening ear, but I'm really going to talk about this amazing little thing that penguins in love do. And so for the most part, that was like the extent of the script for that scene. And then we did 3 or 4 takes. And that was probably the second to last take we did.
Yeah. Well, you have a whole disagreement about breakups.
Yeah.
You say that there's no ideal time for a breakup, and then she broke up with in the car. Not in the car. You can't do it in the car.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Do you think that in real life there's no you can't do it in the car?
I think that the car one, so that's a real story that Tess was telling. I mean, she was
Yeah.
kind enough to share that real thing she went through. And my whole take was, that's crazy, because you never want to do a breakup in a car. You're trapped. You know what I mean? What are you going to do if you're breaking up with someone or you're being broken up with? Goes both ways. So if you're breaking up with someone, don't do it in a car, because you're trapped, and it's like, it's kind of,
well, especially if it's the beginning of because they were saying it was the beginning of the
wasn't the end of the ride.
So you got the rest of the ride.
Yeah, you can only do it if you're timing the end of the ride as you're about to pull up and say, hey, I think we got to break up. And the vice versa part is, if you're the one getting broken up with, I think if you sense that conversation, you got to get out, or you got to say, hey, let's put a pause on this.
Yeah.
Hey, can you break up with me later?
Yeah.
I think it's a fun concept, by the way, the idea of someone getting broken up with and it's the wrong time. And so they say, let's put a pause in this. And so there's like this pending breakup. I don't know. It feels like an interesting premise.
Well, that's kind of like The Big Sick was kind of like that.
It was like The Big Sick.
Because then she gets sick, and then it sort of pauses their breakup. And,
yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I liked the whole conversation about schooling and education, because the people that are just sort of continually going to school. I think part of that is because they want to keep off paying their loans, but also, so it's like, as long as I'm still in school, I don't have, but also there is something you talked about, the structure of education, that is, if I miss anything about school, is the structure. And also, once you become a full-fledged adult and you finished your education, you don't finish anything.
Right.
Almost nothing in life. Do you finish?
That's a profound statement. Wow, you're right. Like, nothing is, you don't finish anything as colossal as an education.
Yeah. Whereas, like, when you're getting your education, you start a class, you have the whole syllabus, you see, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to learn all this?
Yep.
And then you get to the end and you've done.
Yeah.
Then you get your graduation and you're done. And sure, you might have a project, a film in your case, something like I'd have an episode of the podcast, things like that I finish, but then it's just on to the next one. And that's adult life. Adult life is, okay, I just finished laundry. Oh, here's more laundry. Like, whatever.
The fascinating point, you don't have anything that is as completionist as like a 3-year educational program. And but to your point, that scene was very much, that was a little more scripted in terms of what we were trying to say. But like, the idea there is, we all have those friends who are, I have a friend, this girl I follow on Instagram, who's always in graduation or in school. And I think you raised a great point. I agree that if there's anything I miss, it's also the structure of school and seeing your friends and having the cafeteria and knowing when you do things. But the interesting part is, I don't know if this happens to you, I will wake up in a sweat almost once a month, thinking that I know this is a classic dream for people, but thinking that I owe homework to somebody, that I didn't finish a project, and that I'm not going to graduate college because I didn't finish the language requirement. Like, this weird thing, like I still owe something to somebody. Isn't that weird that sticks with us?
Or that you overslept for the LSATs, even though, like, why I'm not even like taking them anymore. Yeah. It's true.
Oh gosh, is that a movie? Is that what Billy Madison's about? An older guy realizes he actually didn't graduate college and has to go back?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I also thought it was cute that you had your character, the male character, be the one that wants to have a baby.
Yeah.
Because
Um,
a lot of times we don't see that it's just like the needy women that, oh,
yeah.
but like men want to have families too.
They do, and that was born out of just here's the beautiful thing when it's just you and the other actress making the
Yeah.
movie, you spend, the first 30 minutes of every day we'd spend just catching up and getting the camera ready and talking. And all these small things come out of those conversations, like, the roster or her not wanting to have kids because they're a lot of work, and me being like, well, I want to have cool little babies that I like put in my movies and stuff. And so
Yeah.
then the next day I'm like, hey, guess what? I wrote a scene about that, and now it's going to be in a film. So it's
Yeah.
the beauty of these small conversations that sometimes happen on big film sets, but are a little bit harder because in between setups, actors go back to their trailers or they go into holding. And when you're just both there together, you're kind of just
Yeah.
forced into these conversations.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like also the conversation about, are you different versions of yourself with different women?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that that's just true for anybody. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a different version of myself right now talking to you than I was just a few minutes ago when I'm talking with my advertising guy,
Yeah.
or with, like, you put on different hats for different people.
It's a really good point. And I was just looking at the numbers. That clip it's about like 3.2 million views on Instagram in terms of that's just that clip. And 45,000 shares and 2,000 comments. And um that thing, like certain scenes in this film resonate with people on a global level, that one being one of them, where it's like you're just different versions of yourself and you date multiple people so that you can never really get let down because it's a numbers game. So if someone breaks up with you, it's no big deal because you got someone there who's not going to break up with you. And I think these larger themes, I don't know, are just are you different person with different people? It's just an interesting concept.
Like, you want to be
Yeah.
authentic, but every
Yeah.
person is lots of different versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's just natural that you're going to present, there's certain sides of me that are more, I'm pretty extroverted, but like
Yeah.
more so with some people than with other people. Like,
Yeah.
there's a spectrum.
Well, yes, I was gonna say authenticity is on a spectrum. It's
Yeah.
like, there's
Yes.
a range to authenticity, and two things can be true to still be authentic to somebody's personality, which is
Yeah.
definitely interesting.
Yeah. And you say that they end up not liking me back 90% of the time or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so hard,
The when you
being
finally care, they don't
single.
care back, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah. And when they say let's be friends, they mean never speak to me again.
Yeah. Well, that's one that I think, I was trying to think about what was like a universal specific truth to some of my experiences when I was single and dating. And it's like you kind of get that text. They say, let's be friends. And like I'm not friends with a single person that has ever said, let's be friends.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's part of the same clip. And I think a lot of people resonated with that. I'll just pull up the data because I think it's interesting to talk about.
Well,
Like
see,
when,
that's the thing. When in Harry Met Sally, when they talk about, can men and women be friends, or does
yes,
sex get in the way? But like, I think it's a different situation when you are like always platonic friends, right?
yes.
And
You
and
can,
then
yeah,
and then when you have crossed over and the dating idea has been advanced, I've seen some people that somehow manage to remain friends, but I think it would be really hard.
I think you have to be friends first. So I think you can go from friends to lovers to back to friends.
Uh-huh.
I think you cannot go
Be hard.
from lovers to friends. Yeah, I don't think you can just go. But I mean, like, yeah, it's certainly hard. It's
Oh yeah,
always
I
going to
see
be
what you're
hard.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you start out, hey, you and I are friends. Like, it's like I feel like in the show Friends, no pun intended. I think they did that a lot, where it's like
Yeah.
they are friends. They act like Jerry and Elaine hooked up one time, then they went back to being
Yeah.
friends. But if Jerry and Elaine just hooked up and they didn't know each other beforehand, then I don't know if that would have worked out. But
Yeah.
to share the sentiment, right? This is one of our clips that we did to promote the movie. This got 47,000 shares, 37,000 saves,
Nice.
2,000 comments, and 3.2 million views so far. So like people
Oh,
clearly resonate with And there's nothing particularly viral about the execution of the clip. I think people think my character's getting interviewed, which makes it feel like it's unscripted. But people obviously resonate with this concept.
Yeah. That's so smart that you aren't using it just as a trailer basically for your film, but you're using it as like additional content that you are putting out there to monetize.
I was inspired by the way that long form podcasts were doing their,
Yes.
those 1 hour, 2 hour episodes of these podcasts. And you see clips on YouTube and you see clips on Instagram and TikTok. And I was like, well, what if I did that for a film? Now you run a risk. You run a risk of spoiling the plot, or you run a risk of showing too much. And you kind of have to hope on this thesis that different groups of people are seeing these clips and that their immediate next move is, let me go watch the longer thing.
Well, I mean, and I don't mean to get political at all, but the strategy of the recent election was to go on these long form podcasts.
Yeah.
And because not only would you have millions and millions of people that would listen to this podcast, but it would be clipped and short formed all over the place, everywhere. So yeah, you might have had a lot of people for one campaign knocking on doors, but you had the other campaign literally posting on every
whatever they
phone,
wanted,
on
and
every
saying whatever they
phone, in
wanted.
every person in the world.
Yeah.
Which one is going to be more impactful?
Saying whatever they want to say. And also, by the way, who does it well is those vertical dramas. They clip these things and then and then if you want to go to Daily Motion and like download it illegally, or if you want to go actually get the app, like somehow those don't spoil stuff, I guess. Although maybe they do and they don't care. But it's an interesting model that it's almost like the death of the movie trailer.
Well, because those vertical trailers, they aren't really selling the actual movie. They're selling the archetype of the movie. They're selling that.
Oh, is that right?
Well, in my opinion, if you download, you are going to get a steamy thriller. Here's a clip. This is what you're going to get. And so they almost want you to know exactly what you're going to get. And so then you're going to get it. It's the same thing that Hallmark does.
Right.
I mean, that they give you the hints of, this is the Christmas movie. Here's all the archetypes. And you're going to want to tune in because you want to watch that kind of Christmas movie.
Yeah. And to your point, there's a massive library of material the second you enter that application, because they want you to download their app, on the verticals. And I was literally just looking, I was on the call with Vimeo today as I'm exploring a way to bring my company Romantical into a different era where I can go direct to my consumer and try to get past the streaming walls and YouTube. And it takes a lot of material to like occupy a stream, like to occupy your own even self-made streaming service. So, sites like Patreon are great for, certain, like for a filmmaker. I don't know that Patreon is the best thing yet, because it's just like, it's pretty linear. It's like, it's very quick. And it requires almost, podcasts. It requires weekly episodes or something like that. A film, it's like, you just kind of want to build a home for your work that people can find easily and not have to watch ads. They can talk to you and it's good quality. And that's hard to find.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because you want to work with people will find you, but then you also want to be able to monetize it as well as you can.
Correct.
So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of exciting too. It's like a whole new potential.
Someone's going to crack it. And I'm exploring, there's this thing called, I was looking it up earlier, it's called Memberful or MemberStack. And it's basically a API, very simple paywall service where you can get subscribers and you can put whatever you want behind it. And so the idea would be, is it an unlisted YouTube video? Is it Vimeo private? Is it its own platform? But it's just, to me, the key factors are quality, no advertisements, direct to consumer, meaning direct to creator as well. And being able to communicate with people and say, engage in comments and engage in everything like that.
But people think originality overrated, but that what people really want is they want the familiar packaged in a new way.
I agree with that.
Yeah. That like I was talking to somebody about this F1, the movie, and they were like, "Oh, it's such a formula film." I'm like, "That's what made it good."
Yeah.
That's why
it's Top Gun, or what do you think it is?
It's a classic underdog sports movie.
Right. Right.
got him from the very beginning. He's painted as this underdog who's on the outs.
Yeah.
He's out there racing and the dune buggies and other stuff. He's found, he's brought in. He doesn't care what other people think.
Yes.
They make it easy to root for him so that by the time he gets that final race, yes, woohoo, you did it. And yes,
Totally.
it can be bad and trite and not work, but I still think as a whole, what people want is the familiar packaged in a new way.
That I completely agree with that take, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, like,
Yeah.
top, like, it's F1. I loved it, but I was like, it's Top Gun, it's
Yeah.
that movie that Tom Cruise is in where he was a race car driver, and
Days of Thunder.
Yeah, it is there, and it's
Yeah.
it's the Jerry Bruckheimer special, who was one of the most prolific and greatest studio film producers of all time. All the Jerry Bruckheimer movies are the same, from National Treasure to The Rock to
Yeah.
Bad Boys. These movies are all the same, and I mean that in a great way. Like, I think
Yeah.
he really knows third acts better than anybody else as a producer. And familiarity is even something we did with Good to See You, which is two people who sort of start off not loving each other, thrusted onto this adventure. They go into the woods, which is the classic fairy tale trope of literally the musical, but also like the storytelling technique. And then they come out of the woods, the other side changed, and there's a happy ending. And I love the idea of leaning on familiarity, but if you can be familiar, at least allow your execution to be very unique, because that's where you get great art. The stuff like Hamilton or Annie Hall or what else?
I mean, if you
Emperor's
look at
New
something
Groove.
like Star Wars, they were just
Star Wars.
that was just the same formula that we've had a million times, but they packaged it in a new way. They gave it
Brilliant.
new names. They had it,
Brilliant example. Star Wars is exactly it. It's the bone structure of everything we've ever known to love and been grown up on as a generation of human beings, but the skin was different, and it was this really cool thing. So I think it's a great example. Yeah.
But I guess we should just share with the listeners, like, we haven't really said what the short is about, what the feature is about. Good to see you.
Yeah, so good to see you. For everyone listening, if you have the chance, I would love for you to check it out. The short film is about two people that run into each other in Central Park, and they're, my character is sort of stops this girl on the street and says, "Hey, how are you? Good to see you." And she says, "Good to see you back." And we very quickly realize, or at least my character very quickly realizes, that he doesn't know her name, or he doesn't know how he knows her. And she sort of dangles this carrot in front of him. She's like, "Well, you don't know how you know me? Well, I'm going to make you work for it." And they're walking from one side of the park, which is the west side, to the east side of the park. And she's in a rush to go meet her boyfriend. He has all the time in the world. And they walk through the park and connect. And you discover that they're both not necessarily being truthful about everything. And of course, at the end of the movie, you find out how they do know each other, which is a fun little twist on the premise.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And you talked about, you live in a romantical world.
Yep.
And I live in a romantical world. You live in a romantical world, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah, we're lucky to be doing that. And speaking of, I gotta send you some romantical merch. I have some stickers here from the official company logo, which is this martini glass with a magic wand in it. And this is a hat that I got. It's a mock hat. It's like, not, this isn't official.
Oh yeah, it's on your hat.
This is like literally just like a hand draw one. We're just early phases, but yeah, I got to get you some romantical merch.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed it. I definitely encourage everybody to check it out. It's worth 40 minutes of your time. Anybody can watch it on YouTube. I think it's a really cool thing that you've done. And tell people, you have another movie coming out this fall, right?
I know. Yeah, I kind of have some stuff here coming out, but the next movie coming out is called 31 Candles. It is not a film edit. It is a full-length feature. It's 91 minutes. It's a romantic comedy about a 30-year-old that has a bar mitzvah in New York City. It stars Jackie Sandler, Caroline Aaron, Sarah Coffey, Dale Moss from The Bachelor, and he plays a Christmas movie director who's a little bit at a loss in his life, and it'll play at the Quad Cinema in New York City, and then it will open up in Los Angeles, in Boston, in Philadelphia, Florida, and other select cities. And hopefully you and I get to chat about that film when that one's out as well.
Yes. Yeah. Let us know. Keep us posted on it. And that would be great. And if people want to follow you, your social media, all that stuff, How do they do that?
Yeah, Jonah Feingold on Instagram. I would love to hear. I've heard from some of the people listening, and I really appreciate all that. And thank you as always, Rachel, for supporting my work. And you know, I'm always trying to push the cause for the genre that we love so much, and really honored to always be able to talk about them with you, and appreciate you always taking the time to watch the work.
Well, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
that was great. And yeah, let us know if you're listening what you think of the featurette and what you think of all the things we talked about. We covered a lot of ground. Love to hear your thoughts. And I'll put in the description our previous interview with Jonah. You definitely want to check that out. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
We'd like to thank Jonah for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with him. I hope you enjoyed it. I just really am rooting for the guy. I think it's very inspiring what he's doing. So please check him out on all his socials and everything and watch the movie. I would really appreciate it. Let me know what you think. And please follow me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media and everywhere else. And follow the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast. And check out our Patreon. That's the biggest way you can support everything that we're doing. And we really appreciate that support. We try to make, we've even had Jonah on for a patron watch along. If you want to hear how movies are made, it's a perfect opportunity. Join the Patreon. And then we have our merch store. We have lots of fun designs. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps so much. And again, thanks so much to Jonah. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.